The RPG After Years is part of the We Can Make This Work Probably network. Find out more at probablywork.com.
Hello, my name's Bill. I'm here in the UK doing UK things, not being eaten by giant people.
And I'm Tyler, in the US, also not being eaten by giant people. And we host The Coordinate, an Attack on Titan podcast, where we...
Hold on a second, Tyler. Hold on. There's some weird noises going on outside the door. Let me just go check it out quickly. It's Twitter Troy Titan. My leg. He's eating my leg.
Bill?
No. Oh, it's gone. He's eating my bloody leg, Tyler. Troy's eating my leg.
Anyways, we're a monthly podcast where we read an arc of the manga a month, try to get Bill caught up. Bill, you want to tell them where they can find us?
What do you want?
Where can people listen to the podcast?
I don't have a clue. Oh, he's going to eat me. He's going to eat me. Why are there so many cats in here? Oh, God, I hope you
can I get a new co-host?
Welcome to the RPG, The Golden Years. This is your weekly show covering all things RPGs from the past, present, and future. And this is the Alundra Review. I'm Rich.
I'm Caleb. And I'm Bill, and this is RPG The After Years / Golden Years. Yes, hello RPGers and welcome back. Today we're going back to the RPG, back to the list, back to the past, and back to me getting a croaky voice all of a sudden. And back to the game that may not even be an RPG. It's the long-awaited Alundra review, the greatest Zelda game you've never played. But first, here's 7 minutes of rap metal. Of rap death metal. No, seriously, it's 7 minutes long. If you don't like it, skip ahead.
One night where I was told to go to a town far away, so I got on the boat. Ever since that day, I've had the worst of luck. And on the first night of the damn boat, got some in a coral reef, man. What are the odds? Wake up in a town where people smoking like frogs and a full-time job. Now, who you gonna call? I bring tranquility, so cerebral. I'm working overtime, y'all. Focus to the thing that hell no. I'm here to save your ass, y'all. I wouldn't mind someone, or even just some food tag.
Every night before I rest, I'm protected on dreams of the restless to save their lives from
Cause he was chasing hot succubus throughout the night. So why I sheathe my sword and made it tits goodbye. But at the same time, another girl's life gets aroused. They be acting like it's my fault. The hell is that? They're asleep and I'm the one who's preserving the habitat. How much smack are they planning on throwing in my direction? Maybe I'll go home and let their dream dissect them. I'm on the edge. Sacrifices I've made have been boundless. I've heard no words of appreciation. They have been soundless. I'm here to save your ass, y'all. I wouldn't mind some or even just some booty. I bust demons in the night in the day I go searching over rocks and underwater just like a sea urchin. Cause I gotta find a way to get more power. I gotta go slay in an insane hour. When I get home I just barely alive, and it doesn't really help me sleep deprived. Till everybody's like, please save my friend. Ain't nobody asking how the hell have I been. I'm working overtime, y'all. Oh, next to nothing at all. Hell no. I'm here to save your ass, y'all. I wouldn't mind someone, or even just some booty.
Every night before I rest, I must enter the dreams of the restless to save their lives from the torment of the demon who now rules in constant. You know it's endless. Every night before I rest, I must enter the dreams of the restless to save their lives from the torment of the demon who now rules in constant, preserving no appreciation.
And that was by the legendary Zoltan, who kindly gave us permission to use his work on the show. So please check him out on YouTube. He has a great song on FS Tactics as well, if you like his work. And there'll be links below in the show notes. Pointing downwards, as always, into the show notes. So, guys, what have we been up to? Caleb, who are you?
I am Caleb, and Bill roped me into doing the podcast. I got a random message on Twitter one day, and I've always wanted to be on a podcast anyway, so it's pretty easy for me to say yes. Like, let's go, let's do this. And Alundra is one of my favorite games that I think not enough people have played. And it was actually kind of strange how I got to play it too. My best friend, I hadn't even heard about it. I didn't know anything about it. And he told me that it was supposed to be the Zelda killer. Well, I was instantly interested because I played Nintendo until PS1, and he talked me into PS1 by getting me to play Suikoden. So that was my introduction to RPGs. It wasn't the first RPG I ever played, but it was the first one I beat. And
So what was the first RPG you ever played?
The first RPG I ever played was I can't remember if it was Final Fantasy IV or if it was or Final Fantasy II on the Super Nintendo, or if it was the Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars.
Oh, nice.
But Mario RPG like destroyed me. I got so mad at that game because it just I knew what Mario was at the time. Mario was running and jumping, and I'm killing Goombas, and I'm jumping on Koopa Troopas, and I'm catching the flag at the end of the level. And now what is this game where I'm Mario and I can jump, but there's no boxes, and you run around this world, and I stuck it out. And I remember very specifically, I don't know if you guys played the game, right?
I actually hadn't.
Yeah.
Okay,
I played a little bit.
I had a Mega Drive for Genesis.
Okay, well, you got to get on that because it is a good game. But
yeah.
I got to a part, and I remember it super specifically for some reason, one of those weird moments that sticks out in your head. And I got to a puzzle, and you had to like reform the words. And when I went back and replayed this game and beat it later, I remember getting there, and the password is bone. And it was like so obvious and silly and stupid. I was like, I don't know how I didn't get this back in the day, but not being an RPG player at the time, I was new to the whole thing, and I was frustrated with that.
Did you say the password was bomb?
B-O-N-E, bone.
Oh, bone. I thought you said bomb.
Yeah.
I was thinking,
Yeah.
God, that is such a deep pull, because I'm pretty sure bomb is the password you have to give Maya Domino in Final Fantasy VII.
Oh yeah, and the original 7, huh?
Yeah, I was thinking, that's a really deep pull if they put that in, and that's a reference to the Super Mario RPG.
Yeah.
But no, they didn't. So back to Alundra.
So back to Alundra, yes, he Zelda killer, and I was instantly interested. The first time I played it, I actually rented it, and I returned it immediately because that game is super hard. I ended up buying
the exact same thing.
Yes, and I ended up buying.
After playing FF7, I remember going to like the video store and thinking, I'm going to rent some games that are like RPGs, and this one had a thing on it saying, it won second best RPG of '97, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to give this a try. And then I think I barely got off the ship.
Yeah,
I was just like, I can't handle this. I don't have a clue what's going on.
I ran around for about an hour and I was done. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, the game was, I liked the graphics even back then, but I was like, no, I don't know what's going on here. So it turned into a running joke between me and my best friend. I bought the game and I had it, and it's absolutely a beautiful collection piece. I love working designs. And I started it multiple times, and then I finally randomly went into our local bookstore, and they had this garbage unofficial Prima. It's an Alundra strategy guide.
An unofficial one.
An unofficial one. It has like no pictures in it. It's just text, and this is GameFAQs might have been around at that point, but GameFAQs was not something that I knew about at that point, so I wasn't using it. So I wasn't used to even the strategy guides I have were the, 7 strategy guides. 8 might have even Final Fantasy 8 might have been out at that time too, and they have pictures and like little maps, and even like GameFAQs, right? They do the ASCII maps sometimes, and they're pretty good. And this is just all text, and I was like, I kind of just buckled down. I'm like, I'm going to beat this game, and then I'm going to rub it in my friend's face and tell him that I can do it. He can't, right? It was like a point of pride thing. So I used that garbage guide, and at some point the game just clicked, and I just continued on. So yeah, and I've been. He still hasn't played it or beat it, anyways, to this day. And I still give him a hard time about it from time to time.
You're right.
I try and get as many people to play it as I can, but there's always the prerequisite of it's pretty hard. So.
Oh yeah, like I said, I bounced off this game pretty hard when I first played it back in the day. I do own it. I even own Alundra 2, but I've never played it, which I think is a good thing, to be honest with you.
It is a good thing.
It is a good thing.
Yeah.
All right then. So, Rich, what have you been up to, mate?
Well, I have just been mainly playing Final Fantasy VII. I beat that last week. We were doing our review for that for the RPG After Years.
You mean remake?
Remake, yeah.
Let's put some
remake.
Let's put some brackets around that.
Yeah, remake. And then as of now, I'm playing Tales of Vesperia on my Switch, playing a little bit of Crisis Core, and that's really all I've been doing.
Did you say Vesperia or Vesperia?
Vesperia.
Okay.
I've gone ahead because I've got 15 hours into that game. I'm right there with Jay. We're kind of neck and neck. So
I think Jay's finished Vesperia, isn't he?
He has. Yeah,
Cool.
He finished that one. I just decided, well, I'll just keep because I lost track. I lost footing with that one with him. So he beat that one before I could even get 5 hours into it.
Oh, okay. I thought you was much further into that.
Yeah. So now I'm just playing Crisis Core. I think me and Scott talked about this where I might go through and play the whole compilation of 7 just to kind of see what happens with everything.
Have you not played Crisis Core?
No, I have. I love it. It's like one of my all-time favorite games.
Good man.
It's amazing. You could definitely see the similarities between Crisis Core and the remake.
Oh, with that, the scene in the remake with Thingamajig is exactly scene for scene from the PSP game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's not talk about that.
I've seen it on YouTube
Don't
side
spoil
by side. And it's just like, no, I'm not going to spoil anything.
Yeah,
I know what you're
it is.
talking about, and yes,
No spoilers.
So yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I'm getting ready to probably start Sword of Vermilion at some point.
So are you? So you're going to be joining me for Sword of Vermilion?
Well, yeah, I have it.
Yeah.
That's what's the plan. The list does go on some things, but we are trying to do as best we can.
The list must go on. I know.
The list must go on.
So in that case, will you be playing Metal Max Returns after Sword of Vermilion?
Maybe. We'll see.
Okay.
do it.
We'll see. Speaking of the list, Caleb, you mentioned that Bill had roped you into the podcast. You might want to be careful with that. That's how you end up getting on a podcast where there's 400 RPGs you have to play.
Well, I mean,
That's how that
it
happens.
sounds appealing at the time, but 100 RPGs in, I don't know how that goes. So
I'm not even 10 in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just terrible.
I think we're up to. I think this is 14 or 15 on the list.
Something like that.
If I remember
what
right.
I want to know is how do you guys do these as well as try and play current stuff? Because that's where I'm man, you guys are hardcore.
Oh, there you go. So Alundra's game 12. Well,
I don't
basically,
know how we do that.
Rich plays all the current stuff.
Yep.
And
Okay.
then generally fails at playing the old stuff.
Yep. And I'll try the old stuff, and then if I really don't like it, and it's god awful terrible, I will kick and scream to the point where I don't play the game. So,
Yeah.
which happens. So, IEC, Fantasy Star 2, this game.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I can't do any modern gaming.
You can't do any modern gaming, really?
Well, I could if I really tried, but it would involve not sleeping ever.
Oh, okay, I
see.
got you. It's not because you don't care for them or anything. It's
No,
because
no. Last
have
game. No, I bought. Well, I didn't buy. I got the my PS4 for Christmas 2 years ago, and I got my sister as a Christmas present to get me Final Fantasy 15. So it was just a month or two after it come out. That was the last game I've played that's of the modern era until I got the Switch. I got the Switch recently.
Did you like 15?
Oh, yeah, it was all right.
Okay, I loved it myself.
Yeah.
So
Rich loved
Yay.
it too.
nice.
Yay.
Yes,
I think we're talking about
Brothers.
playing that again. Yes. High five. I think we're talking about playing it again. You go away, Bill.
Hey, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. I didn't care much for the side quests, but story-wise,
Oh.
it got good towards the end. If I can like FF8, which only gets good in disc 4, right? I can like Final Fantasy 15 as well.
There you go. But Bill, what have you been doing?
What have I been doing? So I managed to make some fairly decent progress in Grandia 2, which is unusual. I did say I didn't want to put too much into it until I finally did the Alundra review. Here we are. So I'll be putting a bit more into that once this is well, actually no, because this is going to be delayed for a few weeks actually coming out from time of recording.
Yep.
spoiling up on the background stuff. But yes, I'm probably about 1/3 of the way through Grandia 2. So I should be able to start ploughing through that soon, which would be good.
I have some gripes with that game.
I don't think I like it as much as the first one so far.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about that.
I like some of the characters more than I did in the first one.
What about the battle system?
Oh, God, terrible.
In the second one, really?
Yeah, we'll talk about that one, yeah.
Okay.
I like it, but it's the animations, man. They're just too long. The first
Well, it's not just the animations. There's other stuff, too, that are bad.
I don't know. I think it's improved on the first one, but apart from the animations, that was the one thing that needed to be shortened, and they made them longer. Anyway, we could say that for the Grandia 2 review when it comes up.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to keep going, but I'll not. I'll let you leave that to you guys.
So then Sword of Vermilion it will be up next after Grandia 2, and I've already played an hour of that. Just sort of testing it out on my name. Like, oh God, Rich, it's terrible.
Awesome.
You're gonna hate it.
Super excited for that shit.
I'm gonna hate it too, to be honest with you.
I have it on my Switch.
Yeah, it's a bonus. I bought Flashback on my Switch. There you go.
There you go.
For the 5 people who own that game in the world. Amazing action game from the Genesis days. And then, I'm really looking forward to a Metal Max Returns after Sword of Vermilion. That's going to be a nice carrot to get us through that game, I think. And hopefully I'll improve on my speed run that I currently have for that game.
Nice.
I have a 3rd place for the bad ending. You can basically end that game in like 20 minutes.
Oh, sweet. I'll do that.
No, that won't count for the podcast.
Yes, it does.
No, that only counts if you're going to be speedrunning.
Okay.
Okay then. So let's move on to the state of the podcast, Rich. So, Patreon benefits. As part of the Patreon side of the podcast, you can get early access to the episodes as well as ad-free versions of the episodes. You can participate live in the video versions. I have no idea if this is live, Rich.
It is not.
All right, okay. I don't know how Scott sets those up. But I wasn't sure. Sorry, Caleb, I should have warned you. There was a possibility this could have been live streamed on YouTube.
I would have been cool if you jumped it on me right here.
There's only 4 people. There's only 4 people to be watching.
Yeah.
And one of those is Rich.
Yep.
We do our aftercast, and actually we just released an aftercast today for how the guys have been coping with the coronavirus outbreak and being locked in. Lots of extra reviews and more.
Yeah, with those reviews, we do have in the pipeline, we have a couple of them. RE3 remake between me and Scott. That's possibly going to be recorded at some point. Then the Captain Toad review between Scott and Corey. They're going to be looking at that. There's a lot of other special reviews that we're looking at doing. It just depends on when we beat those Tales games and various ones that aren't considered RPGs. That's what we're going to look at.
Yep. And also on the as a little extra cheeky bonus on the Patreon feed, there is a patron from a patron episode from another podcast. patron exclusive from the Hardcore Gaming 101 podcast, because they asked me to come on and do a review of Final Fantasy 2 for the NES. So, and that was a patron exclusive for them. So they said we could use it as a patron exclusive for us as well. So there's
Nice.
that. So there's that.
So the last one that we do have is the Aftercast. So Bill, you mentioned that one. The Aftercast is generally where me, Jay, and Scott get together, and we just talk about things that really aren't in the gaming industry that are affecting us. We had one that was talking about the coronavirus and how we're dealing with it. The one before that was controversies and censorship. We do that probably about once a month. So definitely, if you want to hear things that are near and dear to our hearts, or if something that might offend you, check out the Aftercast.
And then finally, the Materia lockdown. We are entering into the last month of the Materia lockdown. So, guys, if you have just bounced off the Final Fantasy remake and you know all the spoilers from the end, and so you now want to go back and play the original Final Fantasy, join in with the Materia lockdown at materialockdown.com. And again, all you need is a Twitter account to participate. And it only has 1 month left to run now until June the 3rd. And remember, it's all for a good cause. And if you feel like donating to the motor neurone disease, which we're trying to raise money for as part of the Materia Lockdown event, you can do so. Again, all the information's on materialockdown.com. And again, ends June 3rd.
Real quick about that, are we going to discuss potentially upping it to the new Final Fantasy remake? Giving that as an option?
Possibly, but given, I
no, wait till next year. No, wait till next year. We'll talk about that.
All I know about it, I know all the spoilers from the 7 remake, and all I know is about the Materia system is that it's not really needed.
Nope.
That's all I've heard about it. I assume there's a few things you can use, but yeah, I would love to make it work for both events, both games if possible, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Well, let's take a quick break before we get to our main discussion.
Do you like video games? Ever thought about making a video game? Do you find that a week or 2 weeks is kind of short for a game jam? Well, have I got the game jam for you? With the We Can Make This Work Probably Game Jam. The jam runs from April 20th to June 9th to provide a nice amount of time for you to make something cool. And the theme is, if you can smell that fart, you're not far enough apart. Shout out to the Lebanon, Maine Fire Department for this meme. Check out the link in the description for more information and to figure out how to join and submit. Have fun!
All right, guys, welcome back. Let's get to our main discussion. The 90s PS1 action RPG, Alundra. All right, Alundra was released in North America 8,148 days ago on January 8th, 1998, and is now 22 years old.
Oh, yes.
It's legal.
It is legal now. But that's as of the time of the recording. I was expecting this to go out a bit earlier. And we only discussed today when this would actually be released. So this is going to be our
It'll be 100th episode?
No, 101. I think we're planning to do something special for the 100th. So this is going to come out after that. We don't even know what it is yet. I suggested we all just play Jackbox Party and record it.
Love it.
But yes, as usual for our game reviews, we like to do what was number 1 in the charts.
Okay.
So guys, 1998 January, what do you think was number 1 in charts for the US?
Caleb, you guess.
1998. Well, 7 was released in 1997. And are we doing just RPGs, number one RPG, or are we doing like number one game of 19?
Oh no,
Oh,
no,
no,
this
sorry,
is our music.
number one in the charts, not in the music.
Oh, number one in the music charts. I don't know. This is okay. So we're gonna do "I Want It That Way" by Backstreet Boys. I have no idea.
I was gonna say a Backstreet Boys song or an NSYNC song.
Normally is, but no, it's actually an Elton John song.
Now you belong to heaven, and the stars spell out your name.
This video is so sad.
And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset
Oh
when the
man,
rain set in.
Richard's got his lighter out.
So that was when Princess Diana passed away. I
Yeah,
forgot
no,
about
well,
that.
yeah, that is even that video is just like all pictures of Princess Diana going back and forth.
Yeah.
And I don't think you guys even know who the All Saints are, do you?
No.
Oh.
No, because this was number one for the UK.
I'm going out of my mind. All the answers to my questions I have to find.
My head's spinning. Boy, I'm in a daze. I feel isolated.
What is this trash?
Wanna communicate. I'll take a shower. I will scour.
Yeah, Never Ever by the All Saints. Love that song. That's that really brings me back to my childhood.
Just no, all sorts of no around. No, no,
So
Oh, come on, Rich.
no. 1998 was a terrible year, apparently.
No, it was a great year. Absolutely great year because we got Alundra.
Again, terrible year.
Oh.
Sorry.
So let's get into the history of the game. So it was actually, I found it quite difficult to find much on the development of Alundra other than like the two facts that basically every single person on the earth seems to know. When it comes, whenever you look up Alundra, there's only seems to be two facts about it. So it was developed by Matrix Software, which used to be, or didn't used to be. So let me start from here. So it started with Climax Entertainment, who were a Japanese video game development company. And they were quite small, and they only had like 20 staff back in 1999. And they got their sort of break back in the 16-bit era with like the Sega Genesis console or Sega Mega Drive in Europe. They developed games like Shining in the Darkness, Shining Force, and also more relevant to Alundra, they created the games called Landstalker, which Alundra is kind of like a spiritual
I've
sequel.
heard of those. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Dude,
especially Shining Force.
Landstalker looks amazing. I've always had an interest in that game, and I did not realize like just how spot on it looks to Alundra. It's like very clearly comes from the same people. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's insane.
Yes.
And then when you look at the main characters, it's like, okay, you almost like ripped off the main character. But
They're pretty. I mean, the thing is, like Nigel, I think his name's Nigel.
yeah,
from,
Nigel. Yep.
from Landstalker, is a pretty close rip-off from the like the artwork that they did for Link from Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past. So like the official sort of like, you know, dramatized artwork and sprites. He was really similar to that, and then Alundra is just like a carbon copy of Nigel. So we sort of come that full circle from Zelda, making our way up to Alundra. But yeah, Landstalker, Treasures of the Noble King, which was done by Climax, is an action adventure game. So is Alundra. It's not an RPG. And yeah, they made that for the Sega Mega Drive Genesis back in 1992. And there was also a spin-off called Lady Stalker, which I'm not going to get into. It sounds creepy.
Yeah, could you come up with a more creepy name? I don't think you could.
Lady Stalker, challenge from the past. Then there was also another, what is considered a spiritual successor of that Landstalker series called Dark Savior on the Sega Saturn, but that also has like middling reviews. So I don't know much about it other than the fact it's kind of the same people again making another game further down the line. And a fun fact, Nigel and Friday from Landstalker appear in the Dreamcast game Time Stalkers for the 5 people who ever owned a Dreamcast.
No one ever owned those things.
No. So the reason why Alundra is considered a spiritual successor, as Caleb said, like the main characters look almost exactly the same. The kind of the gameplay style, despite the fact Landstalker is kind of like a more 3D isometric world, is very similar with like the sort of the jumping, the puzzles, the mechanics, the fight, slash and hack. It's all, and when you look at them, even though they do feel different in the design, you can see like this is the progression of this game. This is what it used to look like. This is what it looks like now. And it was because the game's programming and design team were all the guys who used to work at Climax Studios, who then left to form Matrix Studios, and Alundra was their first game out, which they had as like their flagship. The game was published by Sony in Japan, by Working Designs in North America. Thank you, Working Designs.
Working Designs is amazing.
Yes.
I cannot speak enough praises of Working Designs. Everything they do is just like beautiful. Even if you don't like the game, the packaging their stuff comes in is just awesome.
Definitely, man. They did such a good job. And in Europe, I had Saigonis. So we had their stupid owl logo plastered all over the box. It just looks awful. I think we got a better front cover, but we had this stupid owl logo on it. And Working Designs also worked on the translation. That's the important bit. They did the English translation for the game, and they did such an amazing job of doing the design, the translation, and all the characters, and making it like feel really natural. Like people weren't just saying like, "That's my daughter, she's psychotic." People would actually tell you like a big story about things, and then just drop in during the conversation that my daughter would. Da, 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 da. And yeah, they just did an amazing job. Maybe not with the surfer guy. I don't know whether they went down that route of making is it Beldeer, a surfer? It's like, yeah, man, come on, Alundra. Let's go hit some waves, bro. Just like, other than that, I thought most of the characters felt very natural. Apart from the one, super Californian dude. The game had actually sold 143,114 copies in Japan by the end of 1997. And following its release in North America, Working Designs sold over 100,000 copies of the game in a single month in early 1998. So the actual launch was a huge success, but then the sales just plummeted. And
because they figured out what it was.
Oh, get out of here.
An amazing game. So it was just a bit strange. Like, it just sold really well. I think just off the back of, like, say, Final Fantasy VII, having things published and, advertised as an RPG was kind of always going to be a big hit. But yeah, for some reason, just absolutely dropped off, which is kind of why the game's, despite its early success, is largely forgotten in today's world.
I don't think Rich is completely wrong either. Like, he said they realized what it was, and it's not because it's a bad game, but it is a hard game, which makes it hard to get into. And this is just obviously a theory because I don't remember, but I'm imagining it sold so well initially because I, as a person who grew up on Nintendo, was starved for a Zelda-like game, right? Because I didn't have that on PlayStation. So like I said at the top, when my best friend told me that this was supposed to be the Zelda killer, I was like all over it. Like, give it to me now. And then it took me like 3 tries to actually beat it because it was hard. So I think maybe people were like jacked up and excited to get this. Like, I mean, it looks very similar to Zelda in like, oh, you have diamonds instead of hearts or whatever. But
Yeah.
and then they're like, holy crap, this is like way more difficult. So and then they just dropped it. And then how word spreads and everybody's like, oh, too hard. Okay, see you later.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I was on the opposite end, coming off the back of Final Fantasy VII, looking for more RPGs to play. And this thing had an award saying it was the second best RPG of 97, despite the fact it came out in 98. And yeah, I was just like, yeah, I'm going to play this. And it's just like, and I was given a Zelda game that was hard as nails. I was just like, I have no idea what's going on here. I'm going to take this back and get Wild Arms, which I then went to the shop and bought.
Amazing game.
Yeah, such a good game. So despite its like early successes, it's kind of just been rather forgotten about, other than like diehard fans. And I think because of the difficulty of it, it did turn a lot of people away. And I think also, again, using the fact of it saying it's an RPG to try and sell extra copies, whereas actually it's an action adventure Zelda game. I think if they'd just focused more on the Zelda thing, it would have sold more. Because there hadn't been a new Zelda since Link to the Past for almost 6 years at this point. And it'll be another year until Ocarina of Time came out on the N64. And also, if you kind of like looked at them, those two games, Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time, and then if you put Alundra in the middle and called it Zelda, it would look like the perfect progression going up to the 3D environment. From like the old SNES pixel art to the Alandra's like colourful, almost anime art, to the 3D world of Ocarina of Time. You know, you would have had that perfect progression. So this was the Zelda game that we were all missing in between. But it's just harder than any Zelda game you've ever played in your life. Zelda tends to leave an item, you know, like the bow and arrow, and then the next boss, you know, you have to kill it with a bow and arrow. Whereas Alundra, you probably found that bow and arrow 6 caves back.
Yeah.
And you've probably forgotten all about it. And it's the key to killing this boss. The game makes you want to learn what it wants you to learn, and it makes you good at it. The music was composed by Kohei Takanawa and and is quite frankly an absolute masterpiece. I'm so spoiled trying to pick songs from this game to put into this review. I've literally downloaded more than I have slots for, so I may be trying to squeeze some extra ones in halfway through the review.
Yeah, it's no less than brilliant. The music in the game is stellar.
Just absolutely love it, and it really works with the moment as well. And I did see an interview as well with some of the people who worked on the game, saying about one of the key things that they had on their like design sheet, saying, you know, what should we do? It was part of the music and the art of silence. And so this game's very dark at times, and during those dark moments, the music gets turned right down. So then all you're left with is a lot of the sound effects in the background. And it really makes those moments in the game very hard hitting. And it was something they specifically worked on during the design of the game. So just, yeah, I thought the soundtrack was absolutely incredible for this game. And the game was critically, again, it received critical acclaim upon release. It was praised for its well-written story and characterization, smooth game mechanics and platforming. They are smooth, just hard as fuck.
Yes, it was.
And it has extremely challenging gameplay and puzzles, and it has an expansive overworld exploration. The sequel, entitled Alundra 2, has very little in common with the original. I even think the guy's called Felix. He's not even called Alundra or something. It's got a really dumb name. And yeah, it's really like cartoony and kiddish. Gets rid of the dark storylines, all 3D graphics. Apparently a lot of the puzzles are very good still. Like working. No.
I might have hated this game unfairly because I came off of Alundra and I absolutely like loved it, and then I'm playing this game and I rented it because it's Alundra 2. I'm jacked and through the roof, and I didn't have a lot of money. I rented it, and I was able to beat this game over like a weekend, and I wasn't even like heavily playing because I didn't like the game that much, and it just felt like. Now it's something that I would let my kids play, like kids like 10, 11, 12, if they were that old, play, and you know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, here's some puzzles, but the puzzles were incredibly easy, and puzzles are hard to do in games, man, because I think that there's this fine line of like absolutely nailing it where it's like, oh, I feel brilliant right now. I feel super smart. And this line of it too hard and too easy. And it's easy to cross that and just nail it. And Alundra 2, it was like way too simple, way too easy. It was super kiddie, as you said. And I was so mad at that game, dude, because I loved Alundra so much. That game was awful. It was awful. I tell people, don't play it. Don't do it.
Is this on our list? Is Alundra 2 on the list?
Oh, you'll like it better, Rich, because you can actually beat it.
Yeah, I think it's more of an RPG. I think it's definitely. Well, let's face it. If Alandra's on the list, Alundra 2 is definitely going to be on there.
Yeah, and like I said, I might be hating on it unfairly, but it's just it was too easy. Here's the best advice I can give about that game. It is not an Alundra sequel. Think of it as a completely different game, and then you will probably be fine. And like I said, Rich should be able to actually beat that one. So
Because I'm simple.
Look at that, Rich. It's straight after Saga Frontier 2.
that'll be a nice easy one after Saga Frontier 2.
Why?
Well,
God.
Don't forget, Saga Frontier 2 is nothing like the original.
It's not. It's good. It's more streamlined. It's not as obtuse.
Yes.
I'm seeing. I just want to get to Legends of Legaia. That's all I want.
Yeah. There we go. So
All I want.
Sword of Vermilion, Metal Max Returns, Shining in the Darkness, Legend of the Groon, War Song, Laplace's Demon, Sword of Hope, Legend of Legaia.
Oh, look at that shirt. I like it.
Caleb's got a Sudoku. I can't even say the word. Suidoken?
I call it Suikoden, but I think the correct term is Suikoden. Yeah.
Suikoden, yeah. I always call it Suikoden for some reason.
Legends Dragoon is pretty long too.
Yeah, I know.
But it's so good.
So good.
They need to remake that game.
I would love it.
Anyways, sorry. Continue on. We've got some awards here. Bill, you want me to talk? I can talk about some things.
Yeah, go on. You can talk about it.
Okay. So Alundra has been made available as downloadable game on the PlayStation or PS1 Classic service for PlayStation 3, making it possible for me to play it and Bill on the Vita. So if you do want to take a shot at it, yeah, you got on your beautiful Vita. You can definitely take a shot at it there. It's a good system. Anyway, so the awards on it was Electronic Gaming Monthly, Role-Playing Game of the Year, Runner-Up, which makes no sense because it's not an RPG. Editor's Choice Silver, Game Pro, Best Role-Playing Game, second place. Lies. And then Metacritic's number 6 Best Critic Reviewed PlayStation 1 Game of the Year of 1997. I could see that one because it didn't actually say, role-playing game. But still, it won a lot of awards.
Yeah, won a lot of role-playing game awards, which is surprising because it's not a role-playing game.
But again, who knows, when all that, back in that time frame, what was actually designated as a role-playing game. We know what an RPG is. But back then, they're still kind of trying to figure all that stuff out.
I'm so happy that you guys are not calling it an RPG, by the way, because it drives me bonkers when people call The Legend of Zelda an RPG, and I'm like, listen, the game's great, but it's not an RPG. No,
it's not. It's not an RPG.
If I'd done my research, we wouldn't have played it.
Yeah.
It said RPG on the box, so I just assumed it was.
Speaking of your research time, since you're not on the show a lot, you should probably research all the games on the list to find out if they truly are RPGs. Pointing at you.
I say normally I do before they come up.
That's true.
I normally try and keep it 10 games ahead that I'm actually double checking that they should be on the list. I'm always crossing stuff off. But
I know. I like that.
I just didn't realize. I just assumed because like I say, I played this back in '98, and it said RPG on the box I've got upstairs.
Okay, that's fine.
I just assumed it was an RPG. It said it was on the box, man.
Lies. All right, let's move on to the game, the setting of the game.
So, the game is set on the island of Torla, and most of it is set within the town of, I want to say Inua?
That's what I'd call it.
Inua? Yeah. Yeah, that's about as good as I can get with it, really. And one of the good things about the game is that it has an absolutely amazing cast in this town. Considering it's like with Zelda games, it always gives you a town to come back to. But these people always have big evolving characters around them. So we can start with Jess and Septimus. So Jess is kind of the guy who takes you in. He's the blacksmith of the town. He likes to make things. He makes weapons for you, which is really nice. Jess is a top guy. Takes you in. Come on, Alundra. You can come stay with me. You can write in my book. Yeah, he tells you about writing in the save book, and he says you can use my save book if you want, and I can only write "made a sword today" so many times. That cracks me up when I saw that. I mean, what about you, Caleb? What ones actually stand out from what you remember of the game?
Well, so the town of Inoa or whatever the heck it is, when I played it, because it's been a while since I played this game, but I remember that town feeling just monstrous. And like you said, the characters are so well done and everything that it felt like an actual real city. I thought they nailed how Inoa felt. It felt like a town with people populated with all unique personalities. But the characters that I remembered the most I remember Jess, and I remember him taking you in, and I don't remember much past that. And then Sybil was one that stuck out to me in a big way, and I think that partly was because of a thing that happened in the plot later on.
She had red eyes, man.
Yeah, she was creepy, but she was like cute and cool at the same time. I don't know. She was endearing in a way. I liked Sybil. I did, but she had that she reminded me of, have you guys read the King Killer Chronicles?
Oh, that's over the rich for that one. Haven't you read it?
No. Okay. I can't remember the name of the character in the King Killer, but it reminds me of her, where she's a little bit off, but you can't help but like her. And I like Sybil, but man, I read some stuff and it's like not a lot of people were as big of a fan as her. So
I really like Sybil.
Okay, good. Yes, thank you.
Crazy little girl, red eyes. She could dream. She could dream while she was awake. To crush things with her mind.
Yeah, the dream while you're awake, especially in this game, was like super fascinating.
Yeah, because she was really helping Alundra along with all of this stuff.
Right.
So don't remember much about Septimus, because he's kind of like the main guide with Alundra.
And Septimus? It sounds like a transformer.
Septimus.
So I remember Septimus, but then this was one of the things where I was reading through some of your notes and I was like, oh, this guy's like becoming clearer in my mind and stuff. He was a big part of the story, but I didn't latch onto him or care about him that much. But I do remember him being a bigger part of the story with his science experiments or whatever he's doing.
Yeah, he's the guy who always turns up to push things along. He's the guy who comes into the sanctuary with you when you have to try and unlock all the mysteries of the church. And he's in there with you trying to help you along as well. So yeah, he's like a big one. He's the one who says like, hey, you can walk in people's dreams. It's like, how do you know that? Yeah, there's lots of the characters here are quite memorable. Like Bonaire, like I said, he's got this weird sort of surfer dude thing, and he's the one who has the succubus in his dream. Because the woman is just trying to sleep with him the whole time.
Hey, that fits perfect for the California boy attitude, I guess, maybe.
Exactly.
Maybe not.
Klein, don't remember him. He turns into a werewolf.
Oh yes, that's that guy. Okay.
There's also Giles, who's just a complete bastard the whole time to Alundra.
Yeah, he's
like, this is you. This is your fault. And then as well, there's a couple of people who aren't on this list, like Ronan, who's he's the priest or the head of the church, which is just outside of the town. And there's also Olin, the miner.
Yeah, Ronan was I don't know. He was a fantastic character. He's memorable.
I don't remember Jack.
Well, you didn't really get to much of the stuff with Ronan.
No,
I think you've only just met him at the point where you stopped. But we'll get to that in a bit.
I think so.
Yeah, you stopped right before it got good.
Yeah, pretty much. After the coastal cave is when all the good story starts coming out of the game.
That's what happens.
It gets really dark.
I can always go back.
You can go back. I would suggest it, but it's hard as nails. And I've got a nice little cheat for you for the final dungeon as well.
Oh, sweet.
Which I didn't learn until after I bloody finished. It would have saved me probably about half an hour of my life, and probably my Vita's A button a lot as well. But yeah, just the town was just full of many memorable people, and obviously this big island to explore as part of the setting. But because that's kind of the whole game, I'm not going to go into that as much detail as I would normally, but we'll just discuss the areas as we get through the story. Because pretty much the story is you have to go to every area at one point. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the gameplay.
I will do the first part for you. The first paragraph. Yeah. So the gameplay involves extensive exploration of the island, various dungeons, and an emphasis on challenging puzzle solving. That was some of the things I had a problem with. The real-time action combat and platforming, as well as interacting with non-player characters in the village of Inoa. I don't know, whatever we decided.
We're going for Inoa.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the gameplay itself. It has a lot of the yeast bump and grind feel to me. I don't know if you know that.
If you'd have told me you was going to say that, I'd have got the drop ready.
Why not?
You know,
bump and grind.
I know. Well, I'm not as prepared as normally. You know, I don't have all my drops. I just got all the ones ready for today.
Yeah. So the main plot involves dream walking, where Alundra can
with a little bump and grind.
I totally started that. Shouldn't have done that.
Sorry. Sorry.
So
it's back to the usual.
The main plot involves dream walking, where Alundra can enter people's dreams, with each dream level having its own unique twist based on the dreamer's personality and traits. I thought that was, from what I saw for the first couple of those dungeons with the dreams, I thought that was actually pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah, because that's an amazing concept. I still love it to that day. It's
kind of like Persona in a way.
I never thought about that, but it kind of is, I guess. That's a good point. I like that. I mean, I like this idea better, but
yeah. So if you think about it, is it that we talked about this a lot of times, is video games, the RPGs of the golden years do influence a lot of the games now and things that we've done. So that's something about that.
Yeah, it's amazing playing a lot of these older games and then seeing the influence that has on the games coming forwards. You know, I don't play many modern games, but you do see it on occasion.
Yeah. So the gameplay style is a top-down action adventure. Obviously, I can't read. Is known for containing many extremely difficult puzzles. Son of a bitch. Some which cannot be accessed until the player presses further in the game. It's also known for its amaze balls, music, dark storyline. A range of terrain and surfaces also add variety from sand, which causes the player to move more slowly. That was a pain in the ass, just by the way.
Yeah, we'll get to the desert despair.
to lava, which damages the player. Upgrading throughout the game can help players overcome many of these obstacles, encouraging exploration. And boy, is it fun.
You can tell I wrote this.
I know you did. And Bill will read this last sentence that he wrote.
Yeah, I just had an absolute blast exploring the game's world and all the little puzzles that it would throw at you. I think like the dungeon puzzles got ridiculously hard and were a massive challenge and an absolute drain on the brain at times. But the puzzles out on the top world map were just so much fun. I just loved getting a new weapon, being able to go out, open up a new area of the top world of the island, and just explore and try and find all the little nooks and crannies and the impossible jumps. It was great. Just absolutely loved it. It was an absolute delight.
I think this game is a great example of why I think some people should use strategy guides. Like if you want to go ahead and try this game without it, then that's fine. But you better be prepared to you're going to struggle and you're going to have to use your brain a lot harder than I normally have to anyways. And when I used the strategy guide for this, it was I just had fun the whole way through, because if I ever got stuck, I wasn't getting frustrated at the game anymore. I was getting frustrated at my strategy guide that sucks. But all the answers were in there, and then I could just continue on. So I only used it when I had to, which was a lot more often than I wanted to. But I think this is a good example of that. Using strategy guides can benefit sometimes.
Yeah, I basically used a strategy guide just to guide me around, because there was one point of the game as well where I was just the sequence ended and I was just I'm clueless, don't know where I'm supposed to go next, and that was to the desert of despair, unfortunately. But it was just I did try it. Whenever I got to a puzzle, I'd give it a good bash, And if I found it too difficult, or I was just like, I'm getting nowhere near this, then I'd look it into the guide.
It sounds like you and I played very similar then. Yeah, that's pretty much what I did.
Yeah, it was just like, I wanted to try and get through some of those puzzles. And then sometimes you look up the guide and be like, what? What am I supposed to do? And then spend another hour trying to do it. Be like, I need to get good at this. That bloody impossible jump. Actually, there was one on there where it said, this jump looks impossible. It's not. And I'd read that after I tried to do it 10 times, thinking maybe this isn't the right way. It's like, oh no, it is the right way. Did it next time, just because I knew that it was possible.
Yeah, if you have to say that in a guide, then, and that was like part of the main story. That wasn't like something extra.
Oh no, that was an extra thing.
Oh, okay. That makes it a little bit better then. I was gonna say, man, might be a little gameplay design flaw that I didn't realize. But if it's extra, then
no, there were little bits later on being like, hey, do you remember that impossible jump? This is the same, but you can do it now, can't you? It's like, yeah, I did it first time. I've got good at this jump. I can do the impossible jumps now. But yeah, like I said, you get different weapons as the game goes on. That often helps unlock different areas of the map. So Alundra starts off with his sort of basic sword. He also then later on gets a flower, a big metal ball with spikes on the end of the chain. He gets a bow and arrow. And I think other than that, it's just various sword upgrades.
Wands. Don't you get wands too?
Oh, I'm not forgetting the wands.
Okay.
Oh, that beautiful fire wand. Oh, that's one sexy beast. Oh, Rich, mate, if you'd got the fire wand. Nice.
I don't remember anything.
you didn't get up to the fire wand.
I don't think I got to it.
Isn't there 2 wands? Isn't there 2?
There's an ice wand as well. But
so I thought the wands were cool because that's something that you don't normally see in a game. And if you do, it's like, here's your white mage or black mage, and they can only do magic. I thought it was pretty cool to have that kind of a weapon in this kind of a game.
But yeah, I mean, again, but it was nice that you could have just this thing where it would just throw fire out, and you could burn all the bushes. But also the game was a bastard because it gave you that after a dungeon that had lots of burning puzzles in it. We'd have to pick up the candles and throw them on the bushes. It's just like, and then as soon as you finish that dungeon, it opens up the next area where you can then get the fire one. It's just like, you bastard.
That's how they rewarded you. You did such a good job with these candles. Now you can have this wand.
Yeah, because there was one puzzle in that dungeon. This is is it Magiskar? The Magiskar cave. And there was one puzzle in there to get the golden falcon thing. And it was so impossible. It took me like 45 minutes to try and do this thing with these bloody candles and burning these bushes and jumping over these things in this pond to try and get that golden falcon. And I eventually got it. And in the guide, it said, like, the next paragraph after the thing was just like, if you find this too difficult, wait until after the dungeon when you've got the fire wand and come back. It's like, I did it.
I've been there. I've been there before. I've done that. That's yeah.
I did it. That's the important thing. And one of the other things Alundra gets to play around with is magic. So as you explore again the world map and the dungeons and stuff, you pick up these crystals, and there's a maximum of 4 in the game, which then gives you 4 chances to use magic before you get to recharge them at save points. And you get things like a fire spell, which spits out fire everywhere. There's a water spell where all stuff goes out. I think there's an ice spell as well, where it kind of gives you like a little shield going around you for a little bit. Doesn't last very long though, but it's handy against the bosses. And then I think at the very end, I didn't really use magic much unless there was like a huge mob of enemies. That was kind of what it was for, basically. It was just like clearing a room. Just like, okay, there's too many things here for me to kill on my own. And then there was like, if you got all 50 golden falcons, which are like a special item in the game, and some of them are missable as well.
So are they golden or are they gilded? Because I thought it was gilded.
No, they're gilded. Sorry, that's just me being British. and a general idiot. Sorry, the gilded.
I just wanted to make sure. I wasn't sure. It's been a while, so.
No, yeah. So the gilded falcons, there's 50 of them. If you get all 50 and you give them to the ship, the guy who was controlling the ship at the beginning, we'll get to that on the clock. He trades them in for various items, like you get health upgrades and things from him. And the very last one is this special wand, which will do this earth spell, which will just clear everything. It will even like one-shot most bosses. It was super overpowered. But if you got to the point where you've got all those 50 falcons, like you didn't need it. Like 3 of them you had to get from the casino mini games. Do you remember those, Caleb?
I don't remember a casino in this game at all, to be honest with you, actually. So that comes as a surprise.
Oh, okay. So just west of town, before you get to the fire mansion, there's a pub, and there's a couple of points in the game where there's one of the houses in the village where you can jump through the chimney. And there's 2 points there's like 2 or 3 points in the game where you can jump through there, and there's a special box, and you open it and you take the guy's ticket to get to the underneath of the pub. And then down there is a little mini casino where there's a fighting mini game in a ring where you have to kill slimes.
Swans?
Slimes. You have to kill them really quickly. And then there's another mini game where you have to shoot arrows at moving targets. And then there's a final one, which is a roulette wheel, which is an absolute bastard. But you have to like do these 3 things to get, like, you'll get a gilded falcon, like you'll get loads of different prizes from them, but once you've completed them, you get a gilded falcon at the end. And it's just like, I went down there, I tried each one, I was just like, nope. At that point I gave up on the gilded falcons. I was like, I put my hands up, I don't care. I don't care if I don't get this super overpowered wand. That'll do me. But it's like Rich said, it's nice simple action RPG stuff. Hit the enemy, don't let it hit you. If there's lots of things, hit it with cool magic, special items and stuff to explore the world. Like you get special health items and like stuff to restore your magic. So, but you only get one. You can only carry one item at a time. You can't have like 12 magic potions. You only get one.
Terrible.
So if you've got your maximum of 4 crystals for your magic, and you've got 1 magic restore potion, you get 8 chances to use your magic. And that's it. But no, I love that, Rich. God, negative Nancy.
I am.
Cool. Okay.
I actually liked the one item thing because I thought that it made it a little challenging, because the combat, I didn't think that was where a lot of the challenge was. A lot of the challenge was in the stupid puzzles and where to go next. So I was okay with the one item thing, but I was also using a strategy guide and knew where to go. And so maybe.
Yeah, the combat would just suddenly surprise me at sometimes. It would just be like, I'd be absolutely fine, doing really, really well, and then suddenly I'd make a mistake. And then suddenly my life would just deplete rapidly, and then I'd die, and then luckily my Wonder Essence would kick in, and I'd resurrect, get all my health back. And then I'd be like, I've lost my Wonder Essence. I've got to get out of this situation. I can't die in this dungeon.
Yeah, that makes it stressful.
Very, very stressful. Okay, so that's the basic gameplay. Like I said, it's kind of it's in a very much Zelda-esque world, top-down view, walking around, jumping around, general having fun. Let's get on to the plot. And sadly, that brings an end to part 1 of the Alundra review. So I hope you've enjoyed what you've heard so far. It was really nice having Caleb onto the show, and you'll get to look forward to hearing myself, Caleb's, and partly Rich's views on the story of this fantastic title. The Materia lockdown should either be just about finishing, I'm not sure what date this is being released on, or it will be or over. So if you did take part, thank you very much. If you still want to donate, you can still donate to the Motor Neuron Disease Association via the website. If you go to www.materialockdown.com, and you can just pledge a few bucks there, just because we were just trying to raise money for a good cause. So plugs, guys, rate and review us on iTunes or any podcatching apps that you use, because it really helps open up the show to a wider audience. Really, really does help. Can't underestimate that enough. Even 1-star reviews, if you want to give us a bit of criticism, actually help than having no reviews whatsoever. So you can reach out to us on Discord. Links are below. And obviously we have our Patreon as well. So we have early access to the episodes, ad-free versions. We also have live video versions of the episode. We've got a couple of episodes of Aftercast out there, extra reviews, and much, much more. So, you can also send us feedback via emails if you want to at rpgafteryears@gmail.com for any questions or any reviews or anything you want to give us. Twitter handles, you can contact us, the show at RPG Years. You can contact at the Scott Spot, at Hellblue1569, at jhizzle, and at Metanica, Metunnica. So, again, thanks for listening, everyone. We hope you enjoyed what you heard so far, and we look forward to catching up with you guys next week to hear the story of Alundra. Till then, I've been Bill, he's been Rich, he's Caleb, and we'll see you all next time for more of the RPG, the golden-ish after years. Bye!
The beast has been slain. The world has been saved. Our heroes are basking in the after years. They rest in the tavern for all to hear the tale of how they banish their fear. Revel in the peace that reigns through the land. All will know it was by our heroes' hands. Here in the after years. Here in the RPG after years. Here in the RPG after years.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
At Probably Work for more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.
Are you a fan of high fantasy epic book series that are converted into television series? No, not that one. I mean an epic book series that is actually complete. I'm referring to The Wheel of Time, Robert Jordan's fantasy masterpiece that was completed posthumously by Brandon Sanderson. Well, I have the perfect podcast for you. The Taverin is a Wheel of Time podcast where three gentlemen go through the series one chapter at a time, in their own special way. Follow along as Bill, Rob, and Rich re-experience this great epic. Experience for yourself a world full of vibrant locations, colorful characters, and storylines that will never fail to surprise. Visit a world that Game of Thrones can only wish was as fleshed out and complete. The Taverin, a Wheel of Time podcast, is part of the We Can Make This Work Probably network of podcasts. Find our podcast wherever you get your podcast feed, or visit probablywork.com for episodes of this podcast and other great shows. We will see you at the Wine Spring Inn.